Being a misfit hurts. I can recall rummaging through a gift bag for my first mainstream award. It contained dry shampoo, tanning lotion, and a foundation even Kim Kardashian was too dark for. A reminder, this isn't your house. Over time, some of us have adopted techniques to turn our feeling of alienation into humor. If you've forgotten the feeling of alienation, how can you laugh at it? The lack of varied perspective among producers, the lack of misfits producing telly, can have catastrophic consequences. I'll give you an example. I got another job after Chewing Gum, an acting one, to be filmed for 3 months in a place far, far away. I was immediately anxious. I searched online, being a misfit like me in this place far, far away. My anxiety grew. I was told not to worry. One day, whilst shooting in this place far, far away, it was my birthday, actually, another misfit and I were carrying groceries home. I started feeling something sharp on the back of my ankles. What was that? I turned around to see 4 men hurling stones at us. Their brisk walking turning into light jogging, reloading from the ground whenever their hands emptied of stones. The producers told us to keep calm and carry on. Just a few months left. Could this have been managed better? Did it have to be on my birthday? I call that a catastrophic consequence. The producers saw shooting in that place as a low-cost haven. They didn't consider the experiences of the black actors they'd cast to meet the morals of their diversity compass because they didn't think to see things from our point of view. A white actress in the cast later contacted me. She also felt alienated. People were pointing at her also and staring at her too. She hadn't felt that before and just wanted to talk. I asked her what she thought the root of it was. After some silence, she said, "I think it's the color of my hair." I think it was too. In the process of writing this lecture, I searched online what being an outsider like her might be like in that place. The website for a giant hair company came up first. The specific page, How to Bleach Your Hair, the Ideal Technique. And I quote, your hair is not really blonde. This is true for 95% of all people. Nature has given only very few of them blonde hair. All but these women have spirited the natural pigments out of their hair. Among the color treatments, bleaching is still number 1 on the list. End quote. I wondered why. If 95% of us didn't fit something, we would encourage others to aspire to it, to emulate it. Chewing Gum was offered a 2nd season. My agent and I thought being credited an exec producer would be simple. She called to say I would not be made exec producer. Instead, I was made creative co-producer. We began shooting. There was a moment during the shoot. What was it? The location, the staging, the writing, something just didn't feel right. I approached the producer. Is this good? Why does this feel like shit? I was visibly anxious. It doesn't feel very good. Is it good? I was told by the producer it was really funny and really great. During post-production, it became apparent the channel didn't like the look of that story sequence either. In fact, they despised it. We lost an entire episode. The channel said they couldn't give us any more money, however, which forced the umbrella company to make it rain. I was to write a new episode of Chewing Gum that could only take place in 1 location, with a maximum of 2 leads and 1 series regular as cast. It was to be inserted as the new episode 4, with episode 2 becoming episode 1, episode this, that, ligaments and limbs of storylines just tossed around to make a version that did look fucked, but was still semi-recognizable as a TV show. They said I didn't have much time to do this, as the TX may not change. I went to Zurich to write. I got thrush. Only when I couldn't afford to buy Caniston, it became clear I'd accidentally traveled to the 3rd most expensive city in the world. Another birthday passed out there, actually. I got so hungry, I went into McDonald's and asked them if they would give me some fries. They gave me fries. This is a real-life story. Somebody gave me something for nothing in return. I wrote that episode in 3 days. I realized the show may look more human if we made the new ep episode 1. Moved a ligament here, swapped the right tit with a testicle, and boom, I proposed a version of my child that seemed more her, which we all agreed worked better. My exec offered me a production company under his umbrella after that. He offered this through tears. I'd never seen him cry. I wondered if he really wanted to offer me this, or whether he was emulating a boss above him, whoever that was, and whether that boss was emulating his boss. I used the only power I had and declined. Chewing Gum 2 aired. I don't know anything about the online acquisition. I wasn't part of those negotiations. I was just told all rights had been sold to them. Kind of like your dad coming home saying, "This is my new wife, Netanya." And Netanya has no face. That's how impossible transparency seemed, really. This year, Netanya heard I was pregnant again and wanted to acquire my new unborn for $1 million. Wow. I have no mortgage, no credit card, no real kids, no car. I'm happy with my bicycle. Money is nice, but I prefer transparency. My stories are my babies. I want to look after them. So I asked to reserve a portion of my parental rights, my copyright. "No, that's not the way it is," said no-face Netanya. I used the only power I had and declined. New writers aren't often made executive producers in the UK. I understand this. That's the way it is, that we're not experienced enough to know the budgets. So when and how do we become more experienced? This isn't about me. Luckily, I've learned. This is for the new writers coming after me. So the process of learning isn't harder than it should be. Why not be transparent about the budgets, the figures, the Netanyas? Be more transparent with them about the health and life of the child they're having, or they're in the dark. As they enlighten you with TV stories you can't write or film without them, enlighten them. Shine a torch on the figures and budgets they can't see. Whilst researching for this lecture, I offered my first ever contract to a few writers, and some sent theirs in return. It was nice to be transparent. I spoke to heads of channels, old and new heads of production companies, heads, loads of heads, loads of heads. It was interesting to be transparent and to observe how people ramble, safeguard themselves, then fall silent, just before becoming transparent with you. Couldn't get contact information for any board members. Oh well, they probably only make up about 5% of our industry anyway. My research raised questions. I wondered whether someone should investigate how the shows of new writers are budgeted each year within channels, to look for patterns. It may be that business affairs have found it easier to get away with more on certain shows, sometimes budgeting way below what is commonly held as acceptable. When a budget is lower than standard, it leaves production companies saving and scrimping, and that save is often taken out on the writer. For example, the erasure of script editors. I was told, while researching for this, that's just the way it is. You want to put as much money as you can on the screen. But without a healthy writing team and a great story, what do you have on screen to inspire the misfits? Oh, Love Island. Being more transparent in our industry has led those accused of misconduct to courts. We know this because they're powerful people who generate clickbaits. It makes papers. Are we protecting those abused by producers? Some say our industry is a microcosm of the world. It's a delicate dance, isn't it? The world reflecting us, we, in turn, the world. We have to remember that there are outsiders to this industry being raped by men and women who lack any celebrity status to snatch or public power to dissolve.